The Knicks cruised past the Wizards, beating them by almost 30. Are they crystallizing at just the right time as their schedule gets a little easier? Getting into it right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. And I wanted to remind you all that your favorite team now has a newsletter. Make sure that you check out the Locked On Knicks newsletter daily. It's your one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. And, of course, thank you all for making us a part of your podcast rotation every day. Whether you're checking us out on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform, we appreciate the support. Make sure you hit the auto download function on your favorite app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And today, I'm going over a laugher. This might actually, I always say this, and yet I always end up coming in right around half an hour for an episode, but this might not be the longest episode because I just feel like there wasn't too much to talk about other than just the Knicks dominating. 134 to 106 over the Wizards. Could have been not that many points, but Tibbs hilariously was not having any of the garbage time stuff. He clearly does not view garbage time. He views garbage time as like, you better continue just dominating or else that's it. Garbage time is not for development. It's not for missed assignments. It's not for any of that, which we'll get to in a second. But the good thing is, even despite having to cut off garbage time for a few guys, the highest starter minute total was 34 minutes and 42 seconds for Mikal Bridges. Then Karl-Anthony Towns only had to play 25 minutes. OG played 30. Hart played 32. And Jalen Brunson only played 30 minutes as well. So second night of a back-to-back. I was admittedly a little worried when he extended the starters as much as he did during the first game of the back-to-back. And so to get the rest on the back half works out. I guess that he figured, probably rightly, that this game would be much easier. So better to, if you're going to extend the starters for one game, make it that first game against the Nets, who are a little more pesky, and then just rest your guys against the Wizards, who are not bothering anybody right now. They only have 2 wins for the season so far. So not great for them over there, but great for the Knicks to be able to give their guys some rest. Towns only playing 25 is huge, because as we've seen, he took that big fall on his back in the last game, and clearly was a little hobbled by that down the stretch. He had that knee contusion last week, which kept him out for one game. And, you know, he definitely, that doesn't just go away. It's just a bruise on his knee. That's going to probably take a week or whatever to get better, and rest helps. So love to see that. Hilariously, I think that Tibbs could have played everyone even less, which I alluded to a second ago, but he got annoyed with the rookie and bench garbage time group, which I think at its garbage timiest was Tyler Kolek, Campaign, Pacome Dadiet, Jericho Sims, and Ariel Hukporti. So, I mean, look, I don't know how you could get that mad at that lineup not really succeeding. Like, it's just a very ill-conceived lineup, and it just kind of is what it is. It's just who the Knicks had available. But I mean, that's like 2 smaller guards, a rookie wing who has been playing really good. I'll get to him a little later, but a rookie wing, and then 2 centers basically, neither of which can really shoot or stretch the floor. So no wonder they're not operating like your 5-out starting lineup. But whatever. He got a little grumpy. At first, he put Josh Hart in there, and like, you could just see the look on Josh Hart's face when he went into the game of like, ugh, like, I got to babysit the kids. And then eventually OG Anunoby came in for a little bit. Mikal Bridges came in for a little bit. They helped just keep the lead at around 30, which is about where it was at the end of the third quarter. And the Knicks wind up winning the game. Big team item here in this one for me. They had a season high 37 assists, and they've now had 30 plus assists in 7 of their 14 games. So I missed what the Knicks team record is for assists. I think it's like a little over 40, but Breen did allude that they were on their way towards beating it. Obviously, then once it hit garbage time, they did not. But that's really encouraging. I mean, I think that was certainly something that was raising alarms for me in the first like 3 games of the season was, oh, is this team just going to be like your turn, my turn all year? And if that's the case, like, then what did you make this trade for? Because really you should be trying to build an offense that's predicated on lots of passing, lots of cutting, lots of hitting shooters on the perimeter. And they had like, I think it was like 20, 19, and then like 23 assists in their first 3 games. Since then, it's been much, much better. High 20s or low 30s pretty much every game since then. I think they had 1 game with 20 assists and 1 with like 23 since then. But other than that, it's been like 25 plus. And now for 5 of their last 7 games, they've had 30 plus assists. So they're climbing the NBA leaderboard. They're starting to become one of the more prolific assist offenses in the NBA. They're now 9th in the NBA in assists per game for the season at 27.9. Golden State's in the lead for the league right now at just over 30. I think they're at like 30.5 or something like that. But either way, they're closing in. I mean, if the Knicks keep going at the rate that they're going, they're going to be flirting with 30 assists per game pretty soon, because it just seems to be a more and more regular occurrence for them. Jalen Brunson, I thought, had a really fantastic game as well. Karl-Anthony Towns, also a very good game. Again, just kind of, I don't want to say sleepwalked his way to this performance, but pretty close. And then Wingstop did really good as well. OG, Hart, Mikhail, Pacome Dadiet had a really good, I think, outing for himself again, and is starting to really make a case for rotation minutes. And then, some of the rest of the bench guys did pretty well. And I want to look forward at the schedule a little bit too. So let's come back in just a second and look at all those great things in a sec on Locked On Knicks. But first, I got to let you all know about our friends over at PrizePicks. And you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. That's my absolute favorite feature of PrizePicks. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. You're not going to find anywhere else with fantasy sports that's going to take care of you like that, because that's always the biggest bummer. You think you've got a big week coming, and then a guy gets hurt in the first quarter, first 10 plays or whatever, whether it's basketball, whether it's football. That's the other cool thing with PrizePicks. You can do multi-sport entries, but there's no bigger heartbreaker than if you deal with an injury and it costs you an entry on a daily fantasy game. PrizePicks, you never have to worry about that. And if you sign up today, you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed, so you can't beat that either. And, here's just an example of what you could potentially go for. You think Steph Curry will get more than 4 3-pointers next week? Do you think Anthony Edwards will get more than 27 points? You can cook up hot takes with your friends, and you can win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. So that's a new feature too, where you can, even if you don't even want to just play the lines that they're giving you, and the pick the over-unders on the player options that they're giving you, you can set things up with your friends and essentially just place little wagers between yourselves of, well, I think so-and-so is going to do this. And then your friend can say, yeah, well, put up or shut up. And you go through it. It's a lot of fun. So that's another feature that you should definitely take advantage of. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the PrizePicks app, use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, and I'm back in to keep talking through this Knicks game, and I want to talk about Jalen Brunson specifically. I mentioned how good the Knicks passing was as a whole with 37 assists. Well, Brunson accounted for almost a third of that with 11 assists in this game. He had 26 points, 11 assists, 9 of 15 field goals, and 5 of 9 from 3. Just an effortless game for him. There's not much more to be said about like his scoring offense, I feel like it was kind of just exactly what you would expect. He did the whole bag. He had some interior finishes, which I think was good. That's been a little bit of a thing for him to start this year. So he had some really nice easy ones there. Had some fading mid-range shots. He had step back threes. All the stuff that you love to see out of Jalen Brunson. But his passing lately is really looking like it's taking a level up. He's just really passing that thing all over the court right now. So, there were a few that I highlighted that I was like, these I feel like are sort of next level passes for Jalen Brunson, ones that we haven't necessarily seen from him before. He had a really nice swing out to Hart from a drive where he drove in, got all the way to the baseline, and it kind of looked like he was going to just dribble his way back out. And then he just kind of lured the whole defense in and then swung this like gorgeous pass out to Hart. Very similar to the one that Cat swung out to Hart for the three after the offensive rebound last week. Just like a very similar vibe where it was just like Brunson got in there, and then it seemed like there wasn't really a lane, and yet he managed to just whip it around in such a way that it got right into Hart's hands, hit him for a three-pointer. That was lovely. He had a really nice pick and roll with Cat that gave Cat his highlight dunk of the night. Um, it wasn't anything too crazy, but just a pick and roll. And we haven't really seen Brunson work especially for a whole season with like an elite pick and roll finisher, and he now has that in Cat, and we're now starting to see like what happens when that's something that he's looking for all the time. Just took him with the nice pick and roll, going to Brunson's left, and then worked this pass in. It was just Cat didn't even have to look for it. Like he literally was in stride, looking straight at the hoop, and it just appeared in his hands. It was that good of a bounce pass. Exactly what you want to see out of your all-star point guard and center duo. He also set up Sims for his Dwight Howard style quote dunk. Sims, ran a quick pick and roll with Brunson. It wasn't quite as flashy as the one with Cat, but Brunson found him, right in his pocket as well. And then Jericho goes up, and I'll save it for I'm going to highlight Jericho in a minute, but he goes up and does this like Dwight style, like quote unquote dunk, where he just got so high up that he didn't actually finish the dunk with his hand on the rim, but just kind of threw the ball in through the hoop because he was like 10 feet in the air. So that was cool. And then Brunson, continuing on the assist train here, had a really nice one after that where he was driving baseline, and it was so he got baseline, had beaten his defender, had two defenders in front of him because there was OG and Hart in front of him. Both those defenders kind of close in on him, and everything of what you were thinking and what the defenders were probably thinking is he's about to kick it out to OG Anunoby. He had his eyes on OG, he had his shoulders facing towards OG, he had his dribble facing towards OG, and it looked like that's where the ball was going to go. And then he just no look, like gets it to Hart. I'm still not totally sure like if he bounced it or if he just threw it, whatever. But it was just the ball just like appeared in Josh Hart's hands, who decided to come in and cut and get towards the hoop, and Brunson just hit him perfectly right in the hands, and Hart got an easy finish that way. So I love that one. I thought that was just a really advanced look of just everything about his body language and his eyes and everything said that he was going to hit it to the corner, and instead he gets it to Josh Hart, and it creates an easy opportunity that way. And then he ended things off with a really sneaky look to Sims from the perimeter after Sims got abandoned by Washington on D. Like it was just one of those where I think Sims came up, set the screen, and there wasn't a ton happening off of just that screen. But then Brunson started working his way in a little bit. Sims's defender cheats over just a little bit towards Brunson, left Sims completely wide open, and Brunson had just kind of like lured everybody in by making them think that he was going to go for a shot. And he was obviously having a really efficient offensive night with the 9 of 15 shooting. And then he just slings it to Sims, who just got an easy path to a dunk, which was great too. So love seeing that out of Brunson. I think that he's really taking it upon himself to like take another level with his passing, which you like to see too. Then Karl-Anthony Towns, I'll just briefly touch on. I mean, honestly, most of the starters, like it was just so easy. I don't really know how much we can glean out of like, oh, these are things that they did super well. I think the Brunson passing, like some of these looks might have gotten intercepted by a better team. So that's something to consider. And some of the shots would have been better contested by a better team, but Washington is just bad right now. They're not good. I think they've got some really good young pieces. Like I think Sarr is showing some intrigue. Bub Carrington, I think, looked really, really good in this game, but in general, they're just one of these teams that's sort of like in flux. They have guys that clearly should be on the trade market come trade deadline time, like Valanciunas, like Kyle Kuzma, like Malcolm Brogdon, like all these guys should be up for trade, and then even before the deadline, just the second that any team needs anybody, Washington should be right there to trade them guys. But anyway, things came easy for the team. But Cat still 24 points, 12 boards, 3 assists, 8 of 14 shooting overall, 3 of 4 from 3. Again, just effortless. And it was kind of nice in a way. I had a feeling of like, oh, this is what it's like to be on the other side of this, where Valanciunas and Sarr just really didn't stick with Cat on the perimeter, which is why he was able to shoot so well from 3. And all I could think of was like, oh, this is what the Knicks have been going through for years, where they had like Mitchell Robinson, who's supremely talented at defending the rim and whatever, but sometimes struggles to stick with a hot shooting center on the perimeter. And that the Knicks haven't had, even with Hartenstein, who was better at doing the guarding part of that, but still couldn't stretch the floor like that. It's just so nice having a center that that some nights is just going to completely like bust up whatever the other team is trying to do and like make sure that they have a bad night on defense. So I love to see that. I loved seeing Cat just really get in there and kick their butts and be able to stretch the floor and make their center defenders look foolish. My main hope for Cat now is that he gets his ailing back and knee as much rest as he can before that Phoenix game. Obviously a cross-country flight coming up, which is not great, but they fly private. So hopefully he'll be able to get some good rest on there. And, just in general, get good treatment and whatever, and be feeling 100% for this road trip, or at least as close to 100% as he can get. So here's hoping for that. But I want to also talk about Wingstop real quick. Their performance almost matching stat lines for all those guys. Kind of cool. They had very, very similar stats. Pacome Dadiet getting more minutes again. Jericho Sims, I thought, had one of his better games. And so I'm ready to eat a little crow on that and say that, I think he's actually turning into a pretty good NBA player. Campaign went crazy during garbage time, probably saved the bench from a lot of ire from Tibbs. And then I want to take a look at the next 10 games for the Knicks, because I think they actually have a real chance to really like build on this momentum and potentially start building their record out to where we think it should be by the time we hit like mid-season and towards the end of the season, and start kind of cementing themselves towards like a top 3 seed in the East here, hopefully. So I want to talk about all that in just a moment. But first, I got to let you know about our good friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And if you're looking for a $5 bets place, oh no, what am I going to do? The Jets are on bye this week. I've been telling you to bet against the Jets like every week, and I've been doing really good with that. So why don't I switch to the other team? I feel like I don't have as much cachet to do this, considering I'm not a Giants fan, but whatever, I'm going to do it anyway. The Tampa Bay Bucks -5.5 at the Giants. The Giants just replaced Daniel Jones with Tommy DeVito. I know sometimes there's that new QB bump. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Tommy DeVito is very good. I think that he had a magical little stretch last year. Tommy Cutlets, the whole thing, but I don't think that they're going to beat the Bucks at home, because or even finish within a touchdown, because the Bucks are really good. Baker Mayfield has figured it out this year. He is very, very good. So I would not bet against the Bucks in that game. So Bucks -5.5, or just go straight money line, but -5.5 gets you better odds. So I would probably go that way if I was looking for something to potentially win my first $5 bet, because again, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's get through the final players and big moments and everything from this game. I say big moments. There was no there's no definitive big moment. The big moment was the whole game because they just rocked the Wizards, the poor Wizards. But again, I feel like they've got some good young pieces. So I don't mean to like crap on them like they're hopeless. And actually, they could really do well for themselves if they finally go all in on selling this year, which hopefully they're there. I think that they finally seem like they've kind of crossed that mental hurdle of like, okay, maybe we're not going to be good. Maybe we should, just focus on drafting a bunch of guys and seeing if we can get some hits here. Hopefully they, also recognize like, hey, a high lottery pick this year could be really good. You can end up with like Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper or whatever. We'll see. Anyway, Wingstop did really good. OG Anunoby, 16 points, 6 of 12 field goals, 5 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals. Josh Hart, 14 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 6 of 9 field goals, 2 of 5 from 3. So a really efficient game for him again. And Mikal Bridges, 14 points, 5 assists, 7 of 14 field goals. So again, just efficiency across the board. Maybe my one thing is Mikal had an off night from 3 again, but we've seen him go really hot from 3 recently. So maybe this is just life with him. Hopefully, he finds a little more game to game consistency soon, but it's fine because, the midi was hitting, he still scored efficiently in the grand scheme of things. So you'll take that all day. I'll just point out again, I did think it was really funny that these guys basically had to come in and do like babysitting duty down the stretch of this game, where, Tibbs put in the full bench unit for the fourth quarter and they gave up like, I think it was like a 10-0 run. At one point, Tibbs was like furious because, then the Knicks were only winning by 20 instead of winning by 30 at that point, with, 7-8 minutes to go, whatever it was. And so he threw Hart back in there first, then gradually worked in OG and then Mikal, and then I think subbed out Hart when he put Mikal in. I forget, but either way, those 3 guys all had to do their part to sort of shepherd the bench lineup down the stretch. But otherwise, I mean, they did exactly what you've been seeing out of them lately. OG was dynamic. Was making threes, was putting the ball on the floor, getting inside. Surprisingly good off the dribble. Like I've been really impressed with the strides that he's taken with his dribble drive game recently, where he's not keeping the ball as far off from him anymore, and he's looking to finish through contact and like really seeking, to be physical on the inside. I love seeing that. Hard, I mentioned the really nice cut that he made earlier for the Brunson assist, where Brunson also made the really nice no look pass, but a lot of that from him, plus making the threes. You love to see when he's making threes too, but continues to just be one of the most efficient players in basketball right now. Like a guy who's he's going to take less than 10 shots and probably score, 12 to 15 points for you right now. That's great production that you always want to be able to count on. And then, Bridges, I thought had a good game as well. The midi was really on fire in this one. Came through late for the Knicks with that. They just kind of needed some buckets to stop whatever bleeding with, the garbage time bench unit, just make sure there wasn't any fake comeback in the works. He came in, took care of that. But Pacome Dadiet wasn't only in for garbage time again. I thought that he did really well for himself. 9 points, 3 boards, 2 assists in 18 minutes. Shot 3 of 7 from the field, but 3 of 6 from 3. All of his makes were from 3. It's funny because I would have really bet that Matt Ryan was going to get more of a shot in these minutes to be sort of that extra wing. But clearly Dadiet must be doing something good in practice, and he's doing good stuff on the court too. So I'm glad to see Tibbs giving him a shot and letting him, he's not been perfect. Like he's definitely not been perfect even when he's playing with the starters and whatever. But Tibbs understanding like, hey, he might airball a 3, but he'll also shoot 40% on them. Okay, that's cool. And I mean, he's had some really good individual defensive possessions. So I think the Tibbs probably has taken note of that in recent games. And now it's just kind of like, well, the team defense still needs to come around with him, but we could put him out there for 10, 15 minutes a game and things will be okay. I mean, if that holds, even once Deuce gets back, that would be really cool. I guess we'll see though, because the garbage time minutes, I feel like we're actually the worst part of Tadiet's game in this one. I thought that he was freelancing a little too much. He definitely, as of right now, at this point in his career, I think craves the structure of playing with the regular rotation guys, and like the starters. So hopefully the garbage time minutes where he kind of fooled around a little bit and went a little too hard on trying to be like the guy for a few possessions doesn't affect him in the, playing with the starters and the, the real team. Like right now, the unit that he's playing with down the stretch is effectively like a team that we thought most of the guys would be in the G League this year, with Dadiet, Hookporty, and Kolek. So, hopefully he's able to still hold on to that role with the main squad, because I think he's been doing some really good stuff. But yeah, I really like that. Also, he had a pretty nice assist at one point too. Just had a nice like quick trigger touch pass from the perimeter to find Bridges for one of his middies. I thought that was good too. I think that Dadier does show good decision making in his minutes, or at least at his best. Again, when he's playing in that structure, I think he's better right now. I don't think you want him trying to go out there and just be an ISO scorer right now, which is kind of what he was doing more in garbage time. But his structured minutes doing really good. Similarly, Jericho Sims, I thought, had a really good game too. And I'll be the first to say, like, I definitely did not believe in this guy coming into this year, and he's kind of proven me wrong. Like 7.7 boards, 3 of 4 shooting, had a block. A few games ago, I was kind of ready to shelve him for Hookporty after Hookporty had that great game against the Nets, but I think that he's looked even better these last couple games. Sims has, and the numbers suggest that he's been the best Knicks rim defender. And I also, a few games ago would have been like, I feel like that's kind of fluky. Like, I don't feel like the eye test is suggesting that he's like this dynamo at rim defense, but I feel like the last couple of games I've kind of been seeing it. Like, I've been paying close attention to what he's doing, and he's moving his feet well. He's kind of doing like the Taj Gibson school of rim defense, where he's keeping guys away from the hoop rather than being like a dominant shot blocker like a Mitch or like iHeart was. He kind of just tries to keep guys away, and he's getting better at that, I think. So I think he's growing, and I like that. And then obviously had that crazy Dwight Howard in the dunk contest style quote dunk that made the entire Knicks bench and Jalen Brunson freak out. There was like a long hold by the camera crew on Jalen Brunson with his hands on his cheeks and his mouth agape, just like Home Alone style, being like, what the heck did I just watch? Because he got like 10 feet in the air and then just threw it through the hoop. It was really physically impressive. So you always know that's on the table with Jericho Sims. It's the other stuff, the intangibles, that are starting to really impress me. Then Cameron Payne, I'll give a quick shout out. He did most of his damage in garbage time, but 17 points, 7 assists, 6 of 9 field goals, 5 of 6 from 3. Nice hot shooting game for him, and was just the king of garbage time in this one. I think the rookies should probably buy campaign dinner after this game, because I think that just by virtue of him shooting really hot, they got saved from getting reamed out like twice more, and Tibbs blowing through every time out at his disposal to just like yell at all the rookies and tell them what a bad job they were doing, because they just looked rough. I mean, it is what it is. Like, the Wizards didn't really throw in the full bench lineup, I don't think so. The Knicks guys were, I mean, like Bub Carrington also was just kind of figuring things out down the stretch and was shooting really hot, which was annoying Tibbs. So the fact that Campaign came out there and kind of went blow for blow with him and kept the Knicks in the lead, the rookies definitely, get Campaign a nice dinner after this one. Get him a nice dinner on the road trip when you touch down to Phoenix or something. But yeah, then I want to just quickly look ahead at the next 10 games for the Knicks here, because I think they're really starting to come together at the right time. They're now 2 games over 500, 8-6. And the next 10 games, pretty winnable. Like, I think there's a real shot that they could take like 7 of their next 10 or something like that, in which case then you're talking about, okay, now they're like maybe like 7-8 games over 500 if they can do that. And then they start getting into the place where it's like, okay, this is looking like a team, especially with how the East is looking right now. Like, that would mean, okay, this is looking like a team that can be a top 3 seed for sure. If Boston falters at all, if Cleveland loses a game at some point, then maybe you start talking about like, okay, they go on a strong stretch in the middle of the season and maybe they start looking at a top 2 seed again. So their next 10 games, they have at Phoenix, which Gavin will actually be at. I think he got credentialed for that game, so that's cool. So we'll definitely I might be doing a pod with him where he is in the Phoenix media area, which will be fun. But they're down probably Durant, unless he's like ready to hit his timeline for coming back from his calf strain, like literally on the day of 2 weeks. I think he was just going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks, so we'll see. But possibly Yusuf Nurkic and Bradley Beal out as well. They were out for their previous game. So they might both be out. I think it's more likely that Beal is probably out. And if that's the case, then things are going to look pretty ugly, I think, for the Suns, just because they aren't a deep team to begin with. Then they're at the Jazz, who have 3 wins, at the Nuggets. That should be tough as always because, the elevation and everything, but also the Nuggets are just good. But the Nuggets have not started as strong as you maybe would think. I think they're like 7-5 right now. So could work out for the Knicks. I mean, yeah, 7-6, 7-5, something like that. Then they're at the Mavericks, who aren't without their own issues. They're like 500 right now, and I know that they've had some tight losses, but the Mavericks always play the Knicks tough. So those are the 2 games that probably scare me the most, at the Nuggets, at the Mavericks. Then they're at the Hornets, who maybe I'm underestimating, but I think the Knicks will beat them, hopefully pretty handily. Then 4 games at home, they face the Pelicans, who are just completely injury riddled. The Paolo Banchero-less Orlando Magic, who are still looking pretty good. Don't get me wrong. So that's not to say that that's an easy one. If I was going to pick a third game, I think they might lose. It would probably be that one. Then the Hornets again, which I think is another. Both those 2 games I think are NBA Cup games. The Magic one for sure is. I think the Hornets is also an NBA Cup game. Um, or maybe the first one is the NBA Cup. I don't know, whatever. One of those 2 games against the Hornets is an NBA Cup game, and then the Pistons at home. So pretty solid 4-game homestand. The Magic are the only one that really scares me there, but 3 pretty winnable games and a 4th one that definitely could be winnable if they're really doing good. And then to cap it off, they go on the road against currently 3-win Toronto. I know there's the Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett factor there, but there's also an OG going back to Toronto factor there. And with how he's been playing, wouldn't be surprised if we see like a 30-point game out of him. So lots to look forward to. Lots of good stuff. But yeah, I think that's it for me for today. So till next time, thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all soon. Peace out, everybody.